I'm standing here with Mr. Michael Nelson. He's the president of the NAACP in Cleveland. And I just wanted to kind of get your impressions before I give you mine as to how it's gone. What do you think? How have you been out here all 4 days?
Yes, we've been out here doing legal observation. In fact, we represented the young people who were arrested for involved in the 4th Street incident. And so we've been very involved with the legal observers to make sure that people's rights are protected.
Sure. And do you think they have been protected? Have you been successful?
Well, the one thing that we wanted to make sure was that we had a mass arrest protocol so that young people so that citizens would not spend unnecessary time in jail. We were able to get them out today. Once they actually began getting processed, it went fairly smoothly. Up until that point, though, it took too long to get them to that point. But once we got them in the court, we got them out in about a couple hours. So they're on the street now, they're exercising their First Amendment rights.
What do you think would surprise people about this scene? And like I told you, I think it's a big, beautiful, messy American party, right? This is it. This is democracy right here.
Well, the problem is that all this police, what it does is for the first time it gives people in the United States a sort of an idea of what's going on in South America with the repressive political regime. See, we have more police here than we have citizens.
That's right.
There are police here from every place in the country. So what I think is a good lesson in how quickly your rights can be abridged. And this is for a social event. It's a political event, but it's really a social event for the Republican Party.
Sure. $50 million was the number that I heard quoted that the feds gave, the locals here that was used to beef up the security situation. Where the hell is that money going to go? Are we just talking about a further militarization of the police? They're going to end up with a lot more badass equipment they can run around with and wreck lives with, and that's about it?
Well, one of the issues that we've been talking about for the last 6 months is the fact that our police department is under federal consent decree.
Right.
So every purchase they make is supposed to be run past the Cleveland Police Commission, which is an independent group of citizens that was appointed by pursuant to that federal consent decree. None of this equipment was reviewed or approved by that commission. But because of the event that's taking place, a lot of the responsibilities and requirements associated with that have either been voided or have been modified to allow for the buildup of this police equipment.
So under the guise of this special situation, there's been sort of an end around that committee?
You're absolutely correct. And see, that's the issue, because you have certain rights that they call them unalienable, but they're only unalienable until some special interest group or some government interest says that they're no longer inalienable.
Right.
And then they are abridged. And see, what you see right now is a limitation on movement. You see a limitation on the ability to speak. While they are allowed to speak, with the encroachment of the police department, of the police officials, it makes it more difficult for them to do it without having to have some concerns. There's no need for them to be that close to these protesters. What for? There's nothing going on, they're just standing there. But yet and still, the police continue to encroach closer and closer, making it more uncomfortable for them to exercise their First Amendment rights.
Yeah, and it is uncomfortable when you're in that situation. There's no doubt about it. Another thing that's uncomfortable is to be a black American in America in 2016. I think a lot of white people have kind of found themselves shocked. I personally am not. I'm not saying I'm enlightened, but I've hung around black people my whole life. I think a lot of people I think a lot of white people have been, for some reason or another, taken aback at the actual reality of the situation that they see on video. How do you speak to that? How do you speak to that divide between the experience of the black man and black woman in America and what's perceived to be the experience by white people?
Cleveland is the epicenter of police brutality. We have a city, Ferguson's a one-shot deal. We had a single individual killed in Baton Rouge. Cleveland, we've had six citizens killed in the last 5 years. More importantly, our police department has indiscriminately beaten, tased, maimed, shot, and otherwise caused injury to people, to the extent that the police department is under a consent decree for a pattern and practice of excessive use of force. So, and most, if not all of that, is aimed at African Americans.
Sure it is.
Men and women.
Yes, sir.
So we understand very succinctly the racial divide. And to further, to show how much further how deep this divide is. None of the police officers engaged in any of those incidents have been prosecuted, and in some cases even charged.
Sure.
So that really clearly underscores the problem we have in this country.
I think you're absolutely right. Are you going to Philly?
No, I have so much to do that I couldn't do this week, so I have to come up here and try to get things done that we haven't been able to do. I'm a lawyer, so a lot of what I've been engaging in terms of court, we didn't get done this week, so I'll be working hard this week.
Well, I'm going to let you go, but I want to ask you one more quick question if I can. What do you expect or desire from the Democratic Party and specifically from Hillary Clinton going forward in relation to the things we were just talking about? Do you expect that she's going to push for real criminal justice reform and get some people that are suffering in prison that don't need to be out? Do you expect nothing? What's your viewpoint on that?
Our expectation and demand is going to be that the Democratic Party plank includes aggressive reform, criminal justice reform. That means that getting people out of jail who shouldn't be in jail. That means modifying this bail bond system so that people aren't sitting in jail longer than the crime for which they could be accused and convicted of would require them to be, just because they don't have any money. So those are just a few of the things that we'd expect her to pay attention to and get on top of immediately, early in her term if she wins.
I completely agree, and I have to say, the biggest frustration I have with Barack Obama, and I love that man, I actually wish he would just keep being president. The biggest frustration I have is that we got no relief on criminal justice reform, no substantive relief. There's still 2.5 million people in prison. It just keeps going up. The prison industrial complex is more powerful than it was when he took office. I'm not blaming the man for it, but what I am saying is that going forward, we have got to find a way to turn the tide on this and to get some people out of prison. Would you agree?
I agree wholeheartedly. We can't do half measures. We got to go wholeheartedly, commit completely to justice reform in this country.
Yes, sir. I'm right there with you.
All right.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I'll be in Tucson in October.
Is that right?